What is up, Dallas Cowboys fans? It's your old friend IndyCarTim here with the Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz. Good morning. Cowboys at 7 a.m. here on FanStream Sports across Cowboys Nation. Border to border and coast to coast, as they say. Good morning. How's everybody feeling? We're going to talk some Cowboys, Giants, what it meant. If you're here to, I guess, kind of rage about the 34-17 loss to the Giants, same. But here's a twist for everybody. This definitely, I was going to say might have been, this definitely was the most productive L that the Cowboys have had this season among their 9 L's in the one tie. 7-9-1 is what this thing finishes. But we're going to break down why this loss was a win. And I guess I need to explain myself because I got a lot of hate mail for people calling me out saying I wanted the team to tank. No, I never said that. As a matter of fact, I said the opposite. I didn't want the Cowboys to tank. I didn't have a problem necessarily with the Cowboys doing kind of what they did and evaluating some younger talent in a meaningless game and keeping the stars healthy in a meaningless game. And if they took an L while in the process of doing that, I wasn't going to cry about the L. And that's exactly what happened. No, look, I'm not team tank. We usually don't even say the T word, that dirty T word on this program. But things needed to be ironed out a little bit with this roster. And I kind of think that's what happened. So we'll talk about why the loss was a win, what it means for the upcoming draft, what we liked from the young running backs, what we liked and didn't like from Joe Milton, and why the defense finishing the year like a dumpster fire is actually kind of useful information. So we're going to get into all of that. Before we do, it's time for your daily dad joke of the day. I said it again. It's so redundant. It's time for your daily dad joke or your dad joke of the day. Hope everyone's enjoying this. Again, if you want to submit a dad joke for me to use on the air, info@fanstreamsports.com. Make sure you put dad joke as the subject line so I see it and it comes to me in the right place. And also what your name is, where you're from, and your address, and I could send you out a FanStream Sports hat if you so desire. If you don't want one, that's cool too. But we have those to give out. I'd be happy to give everybody one. Today's dad joke comes from Dale in Waxahachie. Curious. I know a Dale in Waxahachie, and I don't think this was him. As a matter of fact, I know it isn't because Dale sent me his full name and his address. Dale submits from Waxahachie. Why don't eggs tell jokes? Because they might crack up. Thank you, Dale. Appreciate that very much, buddy. Look for your white hat that you requested coming in the mail. We'll get that out to you here this week. Absolutely. But let's talk some Cowboys, boys and girls. 34-17. And I'll be honest, this didn't feel as much like a loss as it did like they were executing a plan. Dak, look, the number one key here for all of this that I described all week, I talked about it all last week. The number one key here was to get out of the game healthy. Mission accomplished. Dak plays a half, walks off the field healthy. Dallas avoids any kind of late season injury disaster that just kills your offseason program. If the Cowboys' real window is the 26-27 season, then you need Dak ready for a full offseason, not trying to rehab, not limited, not nursing things during the offseason. Not behind schedule. That's the key here. And that's the headline. Dak got out of the game, and we have Dak for a clean offseason, unless he somehow tries to hang a TV in his house in the offseason and gets a concussion. I don't know. So that alone will change the tone of the spring and the summer, having a healthy Dak, I think. So was it pretty? No. Was it inspiring? Also no. But the game was controlled. It seemed cautious, and honestly, it seemed very intentional. And that's what we needed to see. Would Brian Schottenheimer have liked to have had his first season at 500? I'm pretty sure he would have. 8-1 somehow seems better than 9-7-1. I don't know how or why, but it just does. But that's not where we are. So let's talk about the reason some fans were secretly voting for Team Tankathon, that they were cheering for a loss, which confuses me too. If you're a fan, how can you cheer for a loss? I get the whatever. We've had that discussion before. I'm not wired like that. But look, this wasn't like they're going to move up a spot type situation if they win or if they lose. So with the win, Dallas could have fallen all the way back, I think, to 18th. The 18th overall pick in the first round next April in Pittsburgh. And as we've mentioned, that's a horrible spot in the first round. You might as well not even have it, and most likely you're trading down to pick up an extra third, fourth, something like that. With a loss, Dallas had an opportunity to climb as high as 11th. Now, for them to climb as high as 11th, the Dolphins would have had to have beaten the Patriots. And that didn't come close to happening. So, after all the games are done, Dallas has the number 12 overall pick. And you've picked some really good guys here in the past with that number 12 overall pick. You've picked, of course, Micah Parsons with number 12 pick. Alvin Harper on the offensive side of the ball was a number 12 overall pick. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I know we had another 12. I can't remember who it was. Not a big deal. But 12th is better than 18th. You could get a difference maker on either side of the ball at number 12. That's not very likely to happen at 18. And here we are. So it's a different tier player. It's a massive value at number 12. And this is exactly the best case scenario that could have happened for Dallas, other than getting the 11th, but whatever. The Dolphins weren't going to roll over, or the Patriots weren't going to roll over and let Miami win that game. It wasn't going to happen. So, look, picking number 12 means that you're probably in the conversation for a day one defensive starter. Maybe the best linebacker in the class, if he falls that far. Maybe a top edge rusher. Potentially the best corner, if the board kind of breaks that direction for you. Picking at 18 means you're hoping someone falls and praying that you have someone to pick there. And if not, like I said, you're probably trading back. So, look, here's the kicker, though, for all of this. Dallas is missing a second and third round pick. That makes pick 12 even more valuable because it's your best chip, even if you want to trade back and recoup some draft ammunition there. By the way, Giants fans are furious this morning because with a win, they slid down the board too. So not only did you take the L to better your draft position, you watched your rival on the other side take the meaningless W and hurt their draft position. I think that's beautiful. Like I said, best case scenario that could have happened. Now the fun part. Let's talk about the game. Jaydon Blue, I don't know where this guy's been all year. This is not the guy that I've been hearing about that has been underwhelming the coaching staff literally all season long. That's why he hasn't seen the field. We saw a beautiful flash of youth movement today. Mafah too. Jaydon Blue, 16 carries, 64 yards, a touchdown. It was perfect. He showed signs of explosiveness. Did have a couple of rookie moments, but who cares? That's fine. I needed to see the positives. The negatives will work themselves out. Yes, it's one game. Yes, it was against the Giants. It was a meaningless matchup. But I'm happy that we got to see something like that because I honestly had no freaking clue what we had with Jaydon Blue. I really still don't. But, there's something there. There's something there. It gives you a little more confidence going into next season after seeing at least for me, after seeing what he did against the Giants on Sunday. But you also kind of saw a learning curve with him. You saw a couple of runs where he cuts back inside rather than bouncing it to the outside. You saw a couple of arm tackle moments where he seemed to go down maybe easier than you would expect. A couple of losses that probably weren't his fault, where the offensive line got beat really bad. But the bottom line is I think the guy just needs reps. I think he needs to build some more strength. But this game for him was certainly a confidence builder, and you can see why the Cowboys now drafted him, because I was clueless to that. I had no idea. Phil Mafah, man, he ran hard. I thought he finished hard, and he looked like every bit of the power back that he is supposed to be. It was fun to watch him. Look, and let's be honest about Phil Mafah. He doesn't have to have any kind of burst. He doesn't have to be dynamic. He's a depth back. He's not a feature back. And I thought we saw every bit of that in this game. He's going to be your RB2. In a worst-case scenario, if he can be your RB3, that's a best-case scenario for him. Gives you some emergency carries. Think about if he had a larger role this year, he would have been the guy that would relieve Malik Davis in games. So I don't have a problem with Phil Mafah. I don't have a problem with Jaydon Blue. I was glad to kind of work out what we could have worked out with both of those guys. Joe Milton, 7 of 13, 73 yards, 1 pick, 43 yards on the ground. You saw it. His arm is ridiculous. He can escape and make an athletic throw on the move. He can run. He can punish defensive backs with that stiff arm. And then you see him miss gimme throws. You see him not see a wide open receiver. And you see him throw a ball directly to a linebacker, inexplicably. Milton right now reminds me of Jameis Winston. He's got all the tools, all the physical tools to be successful in the NFL. But right now he's a human highlight / heartburn combination, just like Jameis Winston is. The talent is undeniable, but the consistency is lacking. And, if for a guy that wants to be a starter in this league, maybe be the heir apparent to Dak Prescott, he's got to be way better than he was on Sunday. Otherwise, you're looking at a Jameis Winston career. And hopefully Joe Milton won't give us 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in the same season. Brian Flournoy. Talked about this last week a little bit from what we've seen from him this year. I think he's your wide receiver 3 heading into next year. He had 5 catches, 68 yards. Over this last month or so, he's been in that steady wide receiver role, wide receiver 3 role for the Cowboys. And I think that's the key for him. He doesn't have to be a superstar. We got plenty of those. He just needs to be reliable and consistent. And I think he is. If the Cowboys go into 2026 with Flournoy as their wide receiver 3, I can live with that. I think that's great. All right, let's get to where it was ugly. Obviously, the defense, another stinker, and I think that's the message. The defense gave up 34 points, the 7th time this season, and this time it was to a Giants offense that was missing a ton of pieces. We had the same results all year that were the causes of all of the failures. Poor tackling, disorganization, busted assignments, and frankly, just not enough high-end talent. It is what it is. Jadeveon Clowney played his tail off, and he deserves a ton of credit. He was one of the few bright spots on Sunday, I thought. But the bigger story is this. Dallas is not even close to competing on defense. And the last thing you wanted on Sunday in the meaningless game was like a game where they played better, they looked okay, to convince the front office that maybe they're just one player away on defense. And we didn't get that, and that's a good thing. I was terrified of that, especially against the Giants. This defense needs multiple starters and needs a pile of contributors, and that's the reality. I would be surprised if we end next week with Matt Eberflus still on the staff. This week, maybe even today. I don't know. I think clearly that's the decision. That's what everyone's hearing, the people who are hearing things in the room from a national standpoint. Our own Mike Fisher, I believe, has been saying the same thing from what he is hearing from the people that he knows. And that's a pretty reliable source, if you ask me. So, when Dak said, I can't correlate my play to wins and losses, which was a quote that he had, what I heard was that I did my job and they didn't. But he's not going to say that. But that was kind of what I took from that. So that's going to do it for us today, boys and girls, for this morning. Thanks for tuning in. Look, we'll be live all offseason because it's going to start getting loud with coaching moves, free agency, the Senior Bowl, Shrine Game, the Combine, and then, of course, we're right into draft season before the offseason. And we'll be there for all of it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe. Drop a comment. Tell me, do you want the Cowboys to trade back from number 12 to recoup some picks or take the best defensive player available and stop finally playing games? I want them to use the pick, depending on who's there. And we'll go over our big draft board and all that fun stuff here as we get a little bit deeper. But appreciate everybody tuning in today. I'm IndyCarTim. This is the Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz, live at 7 right here on FanStream Sports. Until tomorrow on Tuesday, we'll see you.